Hey everyone, welcome to Eden Legacy, the podcast that reminds us it's not how you start, but how you finish. What will be your legacy? Well, hello and welcome back, my beautiful people, to Eden Legacy. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about creating a legacy of faith in your marriage. So, we'll explore the incredible power of faith in the context of marriage and how embracing kingdom principles can build a marriage that reflects God's love, wisdom, and design. Whether you're married, preparing for marriage, or simply seeking God's guidance in your relationship, this episode just might be for you. And so, just like many of you, I too am waiting on the Lord for marriage and have been in preparation season and on this journey for quite some time now. And what has really gotten me through is being led of the Lord to listen to certain folks on YouTube that talk about kingdom marriage and break it down, and their perspective on what God is telling them regarding kingdom marriage. Of course, not everyone out there is led of the Lord, and we got to use discernment. We always have to be led of the Lord on who we should be listening to, and always seek guidance first from the Lord, especially a journey so important like marriage, because marriage is on the heart of God, and I truly believe that this is a pivotal season for the Lord to bring these marriages together, and it's for His glory. It's not just for us. Yeah, we want to be married, we want our boo thing, but that's not what it's really about. It's to bring glory to the kingdom, and to remind everyone of God's original design for marriage. The way marriage has been perverted and just not God's plan for us has been, I believe, one of the reasons why it's been so on the heart of God. But we are going to dive in because I was thinking to myself, because it's been a while since I've created an episode, and I was just leaning on the Lord, and I was like, Lord, what do I speak about? Do I do a kingdom marriage word like everyone else, or what should I do? And I was thinking about it, and I felt like, okay, well, I always talk about what do we do once we get there, right? Like, what do we do with it once God hands us the keys? Because it's like you think to yourself, okay, once I'm married, okay, great, I've arrived, I got here, I did it, but we never arrive, because that's when the real work starts, right? You think because we've waited, we fasted, we prayed, we've been on this journey for so long, and once we're married, it's like, woohoo, I'm good. No, that's when the real work begins. It never ends. You know why? Because just like the enemy fought us to keep these marriages apart, he's going to also fight us to, possibly break the marriages apart. And I truly believe, what God puts together, nobody can take apart. But the enemy's still going to try, right? Because the enemy is a psycho, and he just doesn't learn. He doesn't learn from his mistakes, messing with the Lord. Yeah, he just doesn't learn. So And we always have to be prayerful, and we always have to continue, fighting the good fight of faith. And once we come into these unions, it's like, with anything else, you have to. We're going to start to have to get to know each other. um, Everybody, no matter what, has something that they have to still work on. Nobody's going to be perfect when we come into these unions. And we have to be a big support system to each other. And that goes without saying. I mean, that's I think that goes throughout your whole marriage, being a big support system. So we're going to talk about the faith in marriage. Once we get there, once we come together with our God ordained spouses, we want to, um, we want to maintain it. We want to be good stewards. We want to be good husbands and wives to our spouses. So let's talk about the foundation of faith in marriage. So, what does faith in God mean for a marriage? Well, I believe faith is the cornerstone of kingdom marriage. It means relying on God's word, trusting his plan, and growing spiritually together. And I think that, faith is the cornerstone for everything in our lives. I mean, trusting his plan for every aspect of our lives. But we're going to stick to marriage, because then I'll just go off track. So we're going to stick to the marriage portion. But yeah, so faith brings peace and strength during challenging times in a relationship. And there's always going to be challenging times, right? Because no marriage is in relationship is perfect. Not just marriage, but any relationship, whether it be marriage or relationships, friendships, or business relationships, or anything like that. There's always challenges, but especially in marriage, because I feel like there's so much outside interference. And again, because the enemy is a psychopath, he's gonna keep trying to come against and tear down, because he hates marriage. He hates what God designed, right? He always wants to tear down what God designed, right? So yeah, faith is the cornerstone. It's the very essence, I believe. The importance of trusting God with your marriage. And again, that goes without saying. Trusting God with everything is key. But as individuals, we often try to control or fix issues in our marriage, right? In our own sense. But faith teaches us surrender to God's will and trust in his timing. And I believe that on this journey, and this is why it's so important to be led of the Lord. And I just think about this journey, and it stops me in my tracks sometimes, because it's not for the faint of heart. But it's so worth it, because I have learned so much about myself individually. I have healed from things that I didn't know I still was holding on to, because a lot of the times we bury things deep down, and we don't realize it's still there until God stirs it up to the surface. And you're like, oh, that's still there. And you're like, okay, I need to deal with this, because you don't want to bring this into the marriage that God is bringing you to. And again, nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. We will never be perfect. Only Jesus, right? So we are always learning and striving to be better, and in excellence, not perfect, in excellence. And when we get into these God ordained relationships, we want to put our best foot forward, and we want to do everything in excellence, because we want to do it to the glory of God. I mean, this is a gift of God. What he's doing, bringing these marriages together, is a gift, because honestly, I've been single for so long. I've been single for 17 years. And when I first started this journey, I was like, Lord, well, first of all, when he told me that I was chosen to be married, I freaked out because it was just me and God for so long. And so I was like, why? Why do I need to be married? I'm good. I'm good with it just being you and me. Why do I need to be married? So but I learned, it's a gift of God, and when you're in obedience, He wants to gift you, and He knows us better than we know ourselves, right? So, but now, I've been looking forward to it now, and I still can't believe how far I've come, especially since, not wanting to be married. I had been married before, and I had been married for 4 years, and then I was divorced. And so, yeah, I've been single ever since I was divorced. So I've been single for 17 years. Um, and I just been faithful to God, and just being in obedience to Him. So if this is what He wants for me, I never want to be in disobedience. I want to be in obedience for Him, because He's doing something that's higher than what I could ever imagine. So I want to be in obedience to Him, and yeah. So it's been quite a journey. So, but yeah, the importance of trusting God with our marriage is everything. And one of the scriptures that has helped me a lot is Hebrews 11:1. And I don't know about you guys, but um, and this isn't nothing to do with angel numbers. This is has to do with numbers in the way God speaks to us. And I go to the strong concordance when God gives me numbers, or when I see a sequence of numbers constantly. um I've been seeing a lot of 111 a lot in this journey. And but I know that it's the Lord speaking to me and reminding me and confirming things. But let's read Hebrews 11:1, and it says, "Now faith is the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." And that right there is has been such a challenge for me, because I don't know about you guys, but I've struggled with this, because there's been times when it's just been a long time, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't see anything. I feel like nothing is happening. But when we plant seeds, of course, we can't see what's going on underground, right? And things are happening, but we just can't see them. And that's when a lot of faith comes in, because we have to go by what He's telling us, and talking to us, and putting on our hearts, even though we can't see it. And yeah, when you're led by faith, we have to just stick to what we don't see, because that's all about faith. Um, and then one of the other scriptures I love is Proverbs 3:5-6. And it reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lead not to your own understanding. And in all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." Yes. Oh boy, this one is a hard one too, because lean not to your own understanding. And of course, as human beings, all we want is to see with our eyes, right? And understand it, because once it makes sense to us, is like, okay, now I get it. But when it doesn't make sense, it makes God, because He's the God of, to me, oh my gosh, He doesn't, when it doesn't make sense, is God, because that's when He works, when it doesn't make sense. And that's when the miracles happen, right? And Okay, so let's talk about what does a kingdom marriage look like? Okay, so we're married. We went on our honeymoon. I mean, we had the time of our lives. Like, oh my gosh, it finally came to pass. It came to fruition. And now we're home with this person that we've never lived with before. We're getting to really know each other's habits. Yeah, so let's talk about that and understanding the kingdom marriage. So, a kingdom marriage is centered, of course, on God's purpose. It's not about just two individuals coming together, but two people partnering to fulfill God's greater mission for our lives. The kingdom marriage is built on submission to God, mutual respect, love, and service to one another. So, what was God's original design for the roles of a husband and a wife in a kingdom marriage? Well, He created the husband as a leader, protector, and a provider, reflecting Christ's love for the church. And for the wife, as a helper, a nurturer, and supporter, reflecting the church's role in honoring and supporting Christ. So, knowing your role as a husband or a wife, it's such an importance of unity and is crucial to fulfilling God's purpose for the family and marriage. And some some things that has been perverted in God's original design for marriage, of course, and always taken out of context and made to seem like it's a negative thing. Like, know your role, I guess, in the world would be kind of like a negative thing, but the way God designed it and gave us each a role is not a negative thing, because the role that He gave us, and again, I'm speaking as a woman, so I'm gonna speak from a woman's perspective, and the role He gave me as a wife is important because um, it's a grace gift, right? Um, these are the things that He has given me as a woman, as a future wife, to maintain that unity within the marriage. I was gifted with those gifts, just like my God ordained spouse. He has his role in the marriage that God has gifted him with. So it's not a negative thing. I keep thinking about, like, in the world where, people would taunt you or make it a negative thing, like, know your role kind of thing. But yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because there are only things that as a wife you are gifted to do that your husband can't do, because he wasn't gifted with that role. But when we come together in unity, that's what makes us the foundation so strong, and it makes us a team and not fighting each other. Because when we take on each other's roles, like, for example, in the scriptures it says that the man is the head of the house, right? Because if you look at the way God set it up, is God, husband, the wife, right? It's not that we're beneath our husband. It's just that he's the head, because he's the protector. He's the leader, right? So that's his role. But if we as women and wives, we try to take on that role, then we're out of order. We're out of God's design. And so that's when you start to have the strife, and you have the pushback, and because we weren't that's not how God designed it, and He didn't put us in that role. So in a positive way, know your role. Okay, know your role. Go to the scriptures, know your role, and and you would stay in harmony with your spouse. And of course, sometimes in our roles, we can kind of fall short sometimes. So, and this is me, this is how I feel from a scriptural point. When you see your spouse and he might be lagging in one of his roles, don't nag to them. Go to the Father and pray about it. Pray for them. You know, they need strength. They need courage in a role. If they're not being the leader that they're supposed to be in the marriage, go to God. You know, pray to God to help him with clarity, download instructions and blueprints, and encourage him. You know, don't nag him and say, you know, things that will discourage him, you know. Yeah, so again, know your role, and that's in a positive way, because we as wives are the nurturer and the supporters, right? So we have to support and nurture our husbands. So the roles of the marriage dynamic is so important. And again, because of outside influences, and I'm not gonna go there too much because I don't want to make that about that. But because of outside, you know, influences, it has distorted the dynamic and the role of the marriage. But yeah, so unity is so crucial. Yes, and let's see some scriptures on that. So Ephesians 5:21 through 33, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Wow. Yeah. And I want to look at that a little bit more, only because I've heard it said, or I've heard a lot of women complain about the submission part, about submitting to your husbands. But I see it like this: God chose that man for you. And what he's saying is submit to that man because that's your protector. So for me, that's like when you submit to your husband is because you trust him. You trust that he's going to protect you and he's going to take care of you, right? And in the Bible, it does say we're supposed to submit to one another, right? Submit yourselves to your own husbands, right? Wives, but men are supposed to submit themselves to their wives as well. And not for nothing, but husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church, who gave himself up. I mean, come on, think about it. Christ gave his life, right? He gave up his life for the church. Your husband is supposed to give up his life for you. I mean, that is, to me, that is so much more profound and deeper than just submitting, right? Like, he's got to give his life for you. Like, that is amazing. That is awesome of the Lord. So, women, don't be getting bent out of shape. It's a good thing to submit to your husbands. So yeah, let's not go there or take the negative from the outside interference, okay? So let's go to Matthew 19:6. And it says, "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." Again, like I said earlier, what God has put together, no one can separate. But of course, there's always going to be outside interference, and that that slimy old devil that's going to try. But as the scripture says, let no one separate. And that is the very essence of being united and have that strong foundation in your marriage. You know, when you come together and you are united, it's that much harder for the enemy and outside interference to come in and try to tear it down, right? Okay, so let's talk about practical ways to build faith in your marriage, right? And number one is praying as a couple. prayer helps you to stay connected to each other and to God, right? Because it's a three-chord strand. God is should be smack dab in the middle, right? It's the foundation for seeking God's guidance in your marriage. Encouraging each other to pray together daily. That's so important because that's the unity and strength when you come together and pray. You got to build that wall. So the enemy has a very hard time tearing it down. Reading the word together, studying the Bible together strengthens your bond and understanding of God's design for your marriage. How meditating on scriptures like 1 Corinthians 13 can help couples grow in love. You grow in love more and more with God through the word, and you grow in love more and more with each other, right? Because you're sharing the word and experiencing it together. So it's so profound to me, and it's just so encouraging. So in encouraging personal growth in faith. So supporting each other's spiritual growth. Allow your spouse to develop individually in their relationship with God. So yeah, you're gonna have those times when you're gonna be praying together, but then you also have to have those times where you're spending time with God separately, because as individuals, God wants to also spend time with us that way as well. And that was one of the things that I had told God, as like I was saying before, like, God, why do I need to be married? I'm okay with just you and me. And I'm like, well, then when am I going to spend time with you? Because now I'm going to have this husband and he's going to, I'm going to have to give him so much time, but we have to make the time for our first love, right? Our first love is God. And so we have to make time for him because he's the strength and foundation of the entire marriage. So we're first married to him, and then we have our natural marriage. So yeah. Forgiveness and grace. Faith in marriage also requires practicing forgiveness and showing grace, just as Christ forgave us. Oh boy, yeah. Because there's going to be times when you're going to be like, Lord, why did you give me this person? He's just getting on my nerves. But yeah, we have to have forgiveness, and we have to show grace, just like the Lord shows us every single day. He's so patient with us. One of the things too throughout this journey that he reminded me always of is the fruits of the Spirit, right? We have to have patience. It's so important, especially getting to know somebody on that profound level, and having them again in your space. These folks that we are marrying, they're gonna be in our space, and it's not like we can say, okay, well, you can go home now, because there are gonna be homes. So yeah, patience, lots and lots of patience. And I think that this journey has, I know for me, has taught me a lot of patience, as well as faith and trusting in God. But when God is doing it, he knows what he's doing, even though it doesn't feel good and we don't understand. He knows what he's doing, and that's one of the big highlights for me is patience. So let's look at some scriptures regarding this topic, what we're talking about. And let's look at 1 Peter 3:7. So it says, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Yep. Like I said, as you live, like they say in the scripture, as you live with your wives. Yeah. As you live with your spouse. Yeah. Let's be considerate. Let's have lots of grace and be patient. Let's read the next scripture. It's Philippians 2:3-4, and it says, Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. Now, this is so important because um, I feel like when you get up each morning and you think about to yourself, you say to yourself, how could I make it a better, how could I, what am I trying to say? Lord, help me. Um, how could I make this day better for my spouse, right? So I feel like when you have that mindset always of how to make things better for your spouse, and your spouse has that mindset for you, it's like, how can you lose? Because you're always thinking of each other instead of being selfish and thinking of yourselves. And again, that's a process. That's something that we may have to, get to and pray for. But just think about it. If you both thought that way about each other, I mean, I always say you can't lose. I mean, it's a win-win. Which brings us to facing challenges with faith. How does faith help couples in difficult times, right? So again, if we're thinking about each other and putting each other first, I feel like it's just a win-win. So faith provides hope, patience, and perseverance during marital struggles, right? Trusting that God has a purpose in every trial, and He will use it to refine and strengthen the marriage, right? So what does that look like? Yeah, again, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times when we don't agree on everything, and we are going to face trials because that's just life. I mean, again, there's things that are thrown at us all the time. I mean, we face trials as individuals. How much more as married couples? I mean, that's when we say, we need to really come together as a team and work work through this. It's like what to do when faith seems weak in a marriage. First thing is seek God together in prayer. We need to seek Him for wisdom, guidance, um, and apart from that, I mean, that's where we draw the strength from, right? Also, finding a mentor or a counselor who shares your faith to guide you through the struggles is also a good idea because, again, there's still a lot of things sometimes that we need to work through individually and as a couple. So, those are also good ideas as well that married couples can seek out to also help strengthen or get through the current struggle that they're going through. Um, Well, all right, let's talk about creating a legacy of faith in your marriage. And this one is, I'm really excited about this one because, my podcast is about leaving a legacy, making your mark in the earth for the glory of God. And so, what does that look like? So, we should be building a marriage that honors God for future generations. The importance of modeling kingdom marriage for your children and others around you, and how to create a strong faith-centered marriage that can influence and shape the next generation. Um, I mean, it's an honor and a privilege of God to be chosen to walk out this journey. That again, it's not for the faint of hearts, but to show how what God is doing and how He's put these marriages together through waiting on Him, through faith, through the stripping of the things that He needed us to deal with before we can even enter into these marriages. Um, it probably would scare some folks, but when they see the outcome and how it was all worth the wait is going to be everything. And I believe it's it's going to be on such a profound level that I pray that others will, if they're considering marriage, of course, will always go to God first and seek Him for their partner um, in the Lord. So, as for someone like me that's been on this journey, let me leave you with some thoughts of encouragement. So yeah, no matter where you are in your journey, in your marriage journey, remember that with God at the center, your relationship can thrive. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep leaning into the word. A kingdom marriage is possible when you build it on the solid foundation of faith. He's bringing this together in his strength. We can't do it in our strength. He's bringing it together in his timing. It's not our timetable. So, yeah, just keep pressing into him and let him write your love story, because it will be worth the wait. Well, guys, that's all I have for today. Wow, this has been so awesome. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and share with someone who might need encouragement in their marriage. And just a big shout out to the two ladies that I listened to, in case you want to take a listen to them, because they have been so awesome for me in my journey. And of course, always go to the Lord, but I'm going to shout my two ladies out. The first one is Heart of Ruth. Oh my gosh, she has been so amazing, and the way the Lord speaks to her, go check her out, guys. She's amazing. And also Call Me Ruby, another fabulous and awesome woman of God. So yeah, just I'll try to put their info in the description box. I'm still new to all this stuff, so just bear with me. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and until next time, keep walking in faith and in love, and yeah, leave your mark that no one can erase. That's your legacy. See ya.
And tell the stars if thou be able to number them.
I'm possessed with promise, can't be dismissed. Greatness, power, filled with his goodness, can't be contained. Breaking through the barriers, rumbling a passion to his satisfaction. Average, no option, I want the impossible. Divine nature, unstoppable. Boldness, confidence, total access. Now we approach the unknown with freedom. No fear, and no limits. Speak what I want to existence. That's the inheritance of being in his image. Bring clear vision that shapes your brain waves. Dreams, desires won't be left in the grave. My hope is in his love, won't be dismayed. Dreams, desires won't be left in the grave. My hope is in his love, won't be dismayed.
The stars, like sand counted in my head. The stars, like sand counted in my head.
Promises endless, goodness limitless. This is the image that I have been made in.
The stars, like sand counted in my
My
head.
head, my head, my head. Like sand counted in my head, my head, my head, my head. Like sand counted in my head. Here fully persuaded that the word you spoke ain't outdated, but believe that you're able to perform exceedingly abundantly everything so much more than I could perceive. Time to sit back and receive accordingly from his riches and glory, manifested in my story. Just the beginning now, keep it going. Behold the great adventure, new experiences, no lecture. Rounds of imagination, step into picture. Focus to finish, nope, can't miss ya. Sustained by his fullness, brought into newness. Never be clueless, let guide it into wonderful ways. I know I won't be left ashamed.
The stars, like sand counted in my head. The stars, like sand counted in my head.
Promises endless, goodness limitless. This is the image that I have been made in.
The stars, like sand counted in my
My
head.
head, my head, my head. Like sand counted in my head, my head, my head, my head. Like sand counted in my head.
The stars,
sand counted in my hand.
Promises endless, goodness limitless. This is the image that I have been made in.
The stars, like sand counted in my hand. The stars, like sand counted in my hand.
The stars,
like sand counted in my hand.
promises endless, goodness limitless. This is the image that I have been made in.
The stars,